Hey, this is my top 10 most anticipated game releases of Essen 2015. Hey, I'm Chris. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be my list of, obviously, the top 10 most anticipated games for me coming out at Essen 2015. For those of you that don't know, Essen Spiel is the biggest board game convention in the whole world. Tons and tons and tons of games, mainly Euro games, get released there every year. It's over in Essen, Germany, and I have never been. I would love to go. I'm obviously not going this year, but that doesn't keep me from perusing the internet and finding a bunch of games to be excited about and hope that they get brought over here. A couple caveats about the list. Any game that came out at Gen Con is not going to be on this list. So this is kind of more, I guess, based on North American releases than European releases. But if it came out at Gen Con, it's not on this list. I actually did a list of my top 10 most anticipated games at Gen Con. A lot of those are coming out in Europe at Essen, so you can check that out if you're interested in that. There are no expansions on this list, but next week I'm actually going to do my top 10 most anticipated expansions coming out at Essen 2015. So you can check out that list if you're interested next week. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. My number 10 most anticipated game coming out at Essen is Minerva. This looks like a really simple tile-laying game. My main reason that I'm interested in this is one of my favorite Japanese designers, Hisashi Hayashi, designed it. He's probably most famous for designing trains, which was very popular. I'm actually not a big fan of trains, but he also designed Sail to India and Isaribi, and I am a huge fan of those games. I think that they do a lot of really good stuff with some very simple ideas, so I've got high hopes for this one. My number 9 game, you actually might have heard me talk about a year and a half ago on the news, and it's called And Then We Held Hands. This was originally designed as in like a weekend game jam, and it was a pretty interesting board game that came out as a print and play and has now gotten picked up for actual production. It has mechanics that are a little bit reminiscent of Hanabi, where you're kind of limited in what you can share with the other players, but you're both cooperatively working towards a collective goal. And that goal is you're in a relationship and you've had a fight and you're trying to like reach a place of mutual understanding and I guess then hold hands. I really like the theme. I really like what it's exploring. I'm a big fan of this game, so I'm glad that it's getting a proper release. Number 8 is Castellion. This is the third game in this wonderful solo game series that Z-Man's been releasing in the Onirim world. The first game was Onirim, and then the second one was Sylveon. So this is the third one. Z-Man puts incredible production value into these, which is pretty rare for solo games. They do a lot of really nice touches in these small box games. I'm a big fan of them. This one says that it's a tile-laying game. It seems a little bit like a tower defense game. I'm a big fan of them. I like that solo games are kind of getting to shine a little bit in more recent years. So looking forward to this one. Number 7 is Seven Wonders Duel. I'm sure this is going to be way higher on a lot of people's lists than mine. I'm very excited about it. I love Seven Wonders. I think it's a fantastic game. I just unfortunately don't get the chance to play 2-player games very often, so that's why it's lower on mine. This is a drafting game kind of like Seven Wonders, but it's got some interesting draft restrictions where you lay a bunch of cards out and they kind of overlap over each other, and you can't take a card if there are any cards overlapping on it. So you want this card, but there's already a card on top of it. But if you take this card away to get to this one, your opponent might take this card. So there's a lot of kind of like guesswork going on there that's pretty cool. Some of the cards let you take 2 cards, things like that. Seems really smart, really interesting. I'm sure that Bruno Cathala and Antoine Bauza did a fantastic job designing it. So, yes. Number 6 is Nippon. This is an economic game. It uses some action selection mechanics. My main reason that I'm interested in this is the team behind Madeira and Panamax designed it, and they kind of burst on the scene with Madeira, and then Panamax was a great follow-up. So in recent years, they're sort of kind of, in terms of like medium heavyweight Euros, they're kind of these new young superstar guys, if they're going to be young superstars in the Euro game world. But that's my main interest in this. It's set in Japan, and it's an economic game, which none of that interests me much, but these guys make great games, so there you go. Number 5, I actually talked about on the news a couple weeks ago. It's called Adventureland. This is another design superstar team, but this is actually like a superstar team of Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer. It's being put out by Haba, and Haba Games usually was known for kids games, like very young kids games, Animal Upon Animal, Rhino Hero, things like that. And they are just now branching out into kind of the family game territory. So that's pretty exciting. Haba does a great job with games for young people. This is a tile placement game. There's almost no information out about it, but with that design team and Haba, I mean, there's no way it's going to be bad. Number 4 is Tail Feathers. This is coming out from Plaid Hat Games. This is a tactical miniatures game, kind of in the same sense as X-Wing or things like that. It's set in the Mice and Mystics universe, which is one of their most popular games. It has fantastic miniatures designed by Chad Hoverter, who did the Mice and Mystics miniatures, which are some of the best miniatures in board games. A really cool thing about this game is if you have Mice and Mystics, you can use your miniatures from Mice and Mystics in this game. It's mice riding birds, fighting rats, riding birds, things like that. It's awesome. I've been hanging around with Plaid Hat guys a lot. Jerry, who designed it, has been playtesting it constantly with anybody who will let him playtest it. I'm pretty excited about this one. Number 3 is My Village. This is a dice version of the Eurogame Village, the worker placement game. If you know anything about me, you know that my current jam is dice in Eurogames. And I can't get enough of it, so that's why this one's so high on my list. It says in the description that you shouldn't think that this is... A lot of times dice games are lighter versions of heavier games, and this one says that it's not. It's the same weight as Village, so I'm pretty excited about a pretty medium weight Euro dice game, so that's why it's up there. Number 2 is what I imagine is probably going to be number 1 on almost everyone's list this year. It is getting so popular. It is just a huge game, and it's Pandemic Legacy. This is designed by Matt Leacock, who designed Pandemic, of course, and Rob Daviau, who designed Risk Legacy, and it's a mashup between the two. So basically, Legacy games change as you play them. You change the board, you rip up cards, you actually physically change the components and write on things. It's kind of a destructive system. It's very cool. It's very kind of weird. A lot of people that play board games hate it because you actually write on the board. I think it's awesome. I think Pandemic is perfect for this. I think you can tell such a cool story with all these global outbreaks and stuff like that, and how you track them. I've been following along with some of the designer diaries that Matt Leacock's been doing, and it just seems incredible. I'm not a huge fan of Pandemic myself, so I'm very excited that this is getting in the type of game that I do think I'm going to be into. So any other year, that would be my number 1. But this year, an insane person named Friedman Freeze decided to make a game called 504. This game is a 504 different games in one box. You get a booklet of rules that's huge, and there are 3 different sections, so you kind of turn this top section to page 37 or whatever, and then the middle section to page 12, and then the bottom section to page 2, and that's the rules for your game. It's totally randomized, and so you could be playing an economic area control bidding game or something. It combines all these mechanics. There's just no way it can be good. It's so insane. It's so ambitious. Even if some of them are good, there's no way all of them work. But the reason I'm so interested in it is, as kind of a fledgling board game designer, I really think that this is going to kind of pull back the curtain, and I'm going to see a lot of kind of how these mechanics can interact and what the core function of game mechanics and so many different mechanics are and how they relate to one another. So I think from a designer's point of view, this is almost like seeing how Friedman Freeze can make the games he makes. And he makes some fantastic games. So I'm super pumped about this. If anything else, it's just the craziest game I've ever heard of. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. Alright, that is my top 10 list. I hope you liked it. If you disagree with me or have other additions, please put them in the comments below and we'll talk about them. Yell at me on Twitter about them. This year at Essen, I had 30 games that I would normally be on my top 10 list, and it was very, very hard to narrow them down. A bunch of them just very narrowly missed the list. It seems like a really good year for Essen, a really good year for board games. Pretty excited about that. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube so you can keep up with everything we're doing. We really appreciate that. And thanks so much for tuning in. A reminder, next week I'm going to be doing my top 10 most anticipated expansions at Essen 2015. So make sure you tune in for that. All right, thanks.